if you've just tuned in. It's the Chalkhill community radio station, and of course it's a Let's Talk show with your girl Blaze. We don't have Big E in the studio this morning, but of course we're going to send a very, very warm good morning and hope that he is doing well. Although not physically in the studio, I know that he's probably tuned in. So Big E, good morning. Miss you already. So of course it's a Let's Talk show. Today's show is entitled For the Love of Me. I love that title actually, and we're going to be talking some more about what that means. So I'm sending shouts also to those listening live on Instagram. We have an awesome guest today. And what's brilliant about my guest today is that we are both presenters on the same radio station. I'm not sure if we've done this before, so this might be a first. I'm really excited about that, and we're going to say good morning to our guest shortly. But as always with the Let's Talk show, we start with a quote, and today's quote goes simply like this: you were born to be real and not to be perfect. You were born to be real and not to be perfect. We are going to be unpacking that a bit later. The Let's Talk show is sponsored by Lloyd Montague and Xavier Thomas of Forever Living, and we thank them for their continued support and sponsorship. So it is a Let's Talk show where anything can happen, and it usually does. And if you tuned in at the beginning, you could hear that the software is going absolutely crazy. I'm not sure what's going on with that, playing two things at once. But as E says, if it didn't happen like that, it wouldn't be the Let's Talk show. So guys, as always, I want to know, when was the last time you did something for the first time? And of course, have you been living your best life? I now want to send a really special thank you to our guest last week, who happened to be my little sister. And her and I and Big E had a really powerful and impactful conversation about kidney transplant and life after a kidney transplant. And we spoke about donorship and who wants to be a donor and who doesn't want to be a donor. We spoke about health and the things that happen to your body that you don't take much notice of until it takes notice of you. So guys, remember to check your body. You know yourself, and something's not right, do something about it. So thank you to Anita. I also want to say thank you to everybody. My phone was really ringing off the hook, and there were lots of text messages and lots of people coming forward surprisingly and saying, well, actually I've just been diagnosed with kidney disease, and so I'm also on the transplant list. And well done to those people who signed up as a donor last week as a result of that show. So, you know, the Chalkhill community radio station is all about keeping the community connected. So we love that our shows impact our listeners. I've had a really kind of, I don't even really know how to describe this week, but it's been full of so many different emotions. It really has been a roller coaster. And I'm going to do something that I don't normally do. I don't think I've done this before, but I'm going to play a track that we played last week. Because ever since hearing that track again last week, it just seems really important for things that are happening now. And I've got to tell you, the struggle is real. I'm going to talk to you about that in a while. But I want to say to you though, whatever your struggle is, it's going to be nice, it's going to be okay. And so I'm going to play a track from last week, which was Anita's choice. Yolanda Adams, It's Going to Be Nice, has been on rewind, both in the house and in the car. My poor neighbours, I think they probably know all the words now. So we're going to kickstart the show, because I want you to have this level of energy as we take on today's very difficult, challenging topic. So guys, it's going to be nice, just like this.
It's gonna be nice. Whatever's in store for me, it's gonna be nice. It's crazy right now, Lord, but that's when you shine. I can't start shouting, knowing it's gonna be nice.
I've just been playing this and playing this and playing this. So Instagram listeners, you are all very welcome to the Let's Talk show live with the girl Blaze and our special guest, the fabulous Amja. So guys, it's going to be nice.
Seems that my troubles will never end. I know you promised to be my
very best friend. It's gonna be nice. Alright. It's gonna be nice. Whatever's in store for me, it's gonna be nice. It's crazy right now, Lord, but that's when you shine. It's gonna be nice.
Gotta remind myself daily who lives inside of me. And when I stay close to you,
Oh my gosh.
you're gonna be no more crying about my situation. I know what I gotta do.
Gotta do.
Gotta pray, gotta trust, gotta believe. Depend on you.
It's gonna be nice. Come on now. It's gonna be nice. Whatever's in store for me, it's gonna be nice. It's crazy right now, Lord. It's when you shine. It's gonna be nice, gonna be nice. It's gonna be nice. I don't have the right. Oh gosh, now it's gonna be nice. It's gonna be nice. Whatever's in store for me, it's gonna be nice. That's when you shine.
This is Chalkhill Community Radio. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at Chalkhill Community Radio.
What a powerful track, what a powerful track. It's gonna be nice.
That's
Come
gonna
on
be
now.
nice.
It's gonna be nice. Whatever's in store for me, it's gonna be nice. Come on now. So guys, it is gonna be nice. You can tell what kind of mood I'm in. I don't normally do singing live on the radio, but I just feel like it's going to be nice. So Yolanda Adams, thank you very much for that awesome track. That is now my get up and go and keep going track. So it's going to be nice. The struggle is real, I've got to tell you. It's crazy right now, and the struggle is absolutely real. So I'm going to be talking about something that I mentioned briefly last week, which has been a real challenge for me to kind of think about where am I placed with this position that has been offered to me. And that's the position of a consultant. Being a consultant, that's not the difficult bit. It's more about what am I consulting on? And so I've had to really steady myself and say that I am the consultant and I'm not the decision maker, and that my role is to kind of elicit from the community their thoughts around this challenge. It's not so much a challenge for me to carry out the position, but there are some challenging aspects of talking about slavery, and the fact that I'm really empathic means I can be emotional about something that's happening right now, something that happened yesterday, or something that happened not even to me directly. I'm vicariously impacted. And so the Mayor of London is leading on commissions for diversity in the public realm to kind of ensure that statutes and street names and landmarks reflect London's rich and diverse history and represents all Londoners. So Brent have been involved in and are actively responding to this conversation. And it's a review that's being carried out, which identified that Gladstone Park and some of the related street names. It's kind of, with the contested history that's been happening, is are we going to change the name of the park? Are we going to change the name of the school? Are we going to change the street names? Anyway, the challenge is that it has been decided thus far that there aren't going to be any changes. But what they're hoping to do, or planning on doing, is to erect some art pieces within the park that represents and tells a story or retells a story of people from the African diaspora, and to find out what they would like to see, what they would like to celebrate, who do they want to celebrate, what do they want to use that space for, and what is it going to look like, and really what are your thoughts on the whole, the whole contested history. And, just in brief, William Gladstone was Prime Minister 4 times. But he's the son of John Gladstone, who was one of the biggest slave traders, mainly in Jamaica and in Guyana. But over 2,000 slaves. His son, William, spent some time in what was called Dollis Hill House, which is in a part of Gladstone Park. The house no longer stands in its full entirety, but there are bits of walls and some... I think you couldn't knock the whole building down. I'm not sure if it's a listed building, so don't quote me on that. But there's aspects of the building that still stands. So the challenge is for you as listeners to do two things. To feed into the conversation and to share the opportunity for people to have some dialogue around this. Now, I will tell you that I've had some conversations already, and some of them have been really challenging because of the position that I'm in. I've been contracted to do this work whilst I'm self-employed and not employed per se by Brent Council. I've taken on a role, and so there are some kind of rules and regulations with how you do this. But when I've not been in that role, I've come off some of the calls and I've cried. I'm talking crying with nose running because I've been so frustrated. And I guess that's to do with intergenerational, that's it, intergenerational trauma. And so I feel what my ancestors feel. I feel that in the seat of my soul. So if you want to get involved in this conversation, contact me here on 07 956 548 781. That's 07 956 548 781. I have sent a WhatsApp out with a survey. It'd be really great if you could give your honest opinions for the survey. Then on the 27th, which is Thursday at 6:30, there is going to be a Zoom consultation for the public to feed into this commission. And I'm tired of Zoom, and what I want to do is do a public consultation in the community. So look out for that. But I really, really want you to be a part of this, because although the name of the park isn't changing as it stands, I think there's still an opportunity, some may say, for us to shine and tell the real story and have a place that we can go to and celebrate that, and somewhere where, we can take our children to and our grandchildren, we can bring our elders to, and that aspect of it is to be a trail. So a trail that has information, different plinths about different people that have made a difference here in the UK, and maybe some may say abroad. But I want you to really be involved in that, and I need as many people as possible so that it's not a tick box exercise. And I just continue to ask for the Creator to guide me through. There's a reason why I've been given this position, and for Him to guide me through so that I can keep the strength that I need to have this somewhat difficult consultation. And so we want to know, what are your thoughts about the fact that the park is named after William Gladstone, despite the fact that his father, his family, were one of the biggest slave traders? And what do we think about statues that are up? There was a Colson statue. What do we think about them being up? Some say it should be left up so we don't forget. Some say it should be taken down and we shouldn't celebrate. So what do you say? I want to hear from you on 07 956 548 781. So we want your ideas around what you think should happen. And we're going to have the first consultation via Zoom, but then I'm actively trying to do a public consultation within the community. So that's that on that for now. So that's one of the emotions that I've gone through this week, and just kind of having to hear some stuff that is really difficult. And for me, I like to keep it real. The quote today says, "You were born to be real and not to be perfect." And so I'm trying to remain authentic because that's who I am, and I don't actually know how to be anything other than who I am. I can't not be me. Wherever I go, I'm always there. And if I don't go, then I ain't there. So there's no kind of really getting away from it. But if you've just tuned in, it's the Chalkhill Community Radio Station. So Let's Talk Show live with your girl Blaze. Coming up, we have the fabulous Amja unabashedly. I hope I've said that right. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to say a very quick good morning to her now, as she is a presenter. She doesn't need much warming up. So Amja, good morning and welcome to our studio and to the Let's Talk Show live.
Thank you for inviting me. It's absolutely a pleasure. This is the first time that I'm actually being interviewed live per se on a radio station. So I've done it in other places, but this is it's a beautiful experience because sometimes I sit where you're sitting. So
Absolutely.
It's interesting. It's interesting to be here today, and I'm looking forward to our conversation because outside of studio time we always have rich and meaningful conversations. So I think this is going to be one. I think it's going to be a mix of emotions. I believe it's going to be something like that. This is what I'm thinking anyway, the energy that I'm feeling this morning. But with that being said, it's going to be nice.
It's good. I love that.
It's
going to be nice. And so Amja is live on Instagram. I don't know if you want to give your handle out for other people that might be able to.
Okay, yeah. So my Instagram handle is simply Amja unabashedly, AMJAUNABASHEDLY. I know that's long, but unabashedly is just to be that unabashed and just truthful and talk as I would say with my Jamaican family, just tart the ting on the Let's Talk show. So here we go.
Tart the ting. So one of our listeners has messaged in as a reminder that actually the law had changed, so everyone is automatically enrolled into the transplant system or donor system, and the task of the public was to opt out if they wanted their organs conserved. So for those of you that didn't opt out, well done, because you're on the donor list. I forgot about that. We'll be hearing some more about what Zora's doing a bit later in the show, so thank you for that. My listeners, you are so awesome. So the other thing that I did yesterday, which was just, it was history again actually, and it was so powerful. So some of you may know that the Let's Talk show and the Chalkhill Community Radio Station and the wider Your Digital Network, which is an umbrella of radio stations, have a partnership with Wembley Stadium and the FA. And that's history because that hasn't ever been done before. I know myself and Amja lived in this area, and Wembley Stadium has been there ever since we've been there. Yeah. Amja, have you ever visited Wembley Stadium?
I visited Wembley Stadium. So when I was about 11 years old, I visited Wembley Stadium and I saw Michael Jackson live. So I've done that before, which was absolutely fantastic. And recently, I think the station was gifted some tickets, and I saw a charity cup match, which was absolutely amazing as well. The energy was just like I felt it in my chest. I understand the power of community energy and the resonance of when everybody's feeling the same type of thing, and how that touches so many different people. So that was a beautiful experience at Wembley as well, at Wembley Stadium. Yeah,
that's right. So one of the benefits of being in that partnership is that we get tickets. And so we've had some tickets for the presenters, and we're going to be having some for the community. And we've got some tour tickets as well. And we're going to be running a media training program for young people in the grounds of the stadium and support with their comms team. We've also got access to some of the university students who are at the UCFB, which is a university based in the stadium. I didn't even know that was there until just recently.
Until just now.
Oh, until just now.
For me.
Yeah, so we had a visit from one of the students who's 18 years old and wanting to join us, so that's really exciting. And I'm going to talk some more about new presenters. So yesterday, the senior management team had an away day at Wembley Stadium, and it was just so powerful. The kind of realising again in a really powerful way how important community radio station is. And we were really talking about what kind of station do we want to be. And I think it was agreed that we want to invest in people, because that's what we do, and we want to continue to do that on a bigger level. So we want to invest in you as a community. And so we're inviting you for the opportunity to be, you know, a part of the station. It might be that you send in some topics. It might be that you want to come on the show as a guest. It might also be that you just want to come in and help out when we've got events. I don't know, you might want to do refreshments, do tea and coffee. You just might want to come and have a look around at the station. So this Wednesday, we're having a radio presenters opening evening, which isn't just for people who want to be a radio DJ or a presenter, but anybody that wants to be involved. So we're looking for new presenters. I don't know, are you interested in joining a media team? And also there's some free training. No experience is needed, and that takes place right here at the Grange, Wednesday 26th of January 2022. And that's from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. If you want to find out more about that, drop me a message or give me a call after the show on 07 956 548 781. That's also the number if you want to send a text message to ask Amja any questions or get involved in any aspect of the show. So guys, you're welcome to come down. Do let us know if you're coming, because we are providing refreshments for you, which are going to be provided by Anita and her company Food for Thought. So if you want some food for thought, if you want to come down and see our new studio as well, because we've got a addition to the radio station, we've got a studio that can be used for filming, podcasts, photography. We would love to see you. But the day yesterday was awesome. And I want to send a big thank you out to Seth Richard of Slinky, who was responsible for the entire link up. And to the YDN team, guess what, guys? It's gonna be nice.
Nice.
Yeah, we've just got some amazing things coming up, Andrew, and you're gonna hear about that in the coming days. So, what's your thoughts around the fact that Chalkhill, we're interested in keeping the community connected, and that we want to invest in our people? What's your thoughts around that?
My thoughts, I think it's absolutely powerful. I think there's a rich history in Chalkhill community as well. I come from the environment. A lot of the stuff that I'm able to do today is because of my experience within Chalkhill community. There's so many things that it's a rich and abundant community. It's a diverse community. There's the history that the Wembley Stadium has within itself. It's changed, and I think for us to be able to provide meaningful content to people within the community, it's about getting the community involved in that direction, giving people a voice, giving the people of the community a place to feel safe to share what their feelings are. And at the end of the day, if we really do care about the community, it's not about the heads making all of the decisions. It's 100%. About the people on the ground having an opportunity to voice their feelings and their thoughts about what they want to see from their community, and then for the powers that be to facilitate that in a way that is meaningful to the community. So I think it's a really important thing that's going to happen. I'm looking forward to see what is going to happen with that. That's what I feel.
Yeah, 100%. That's it, really. That's it in a nutshell. That's it, spot on. Because it is a community radio station, and so therefore we can't have the station if we don't have the community. And so I just want you to give some thoughts around anything at all, anything. There's no subject that we're not going to at least listen to and say, whether we can support or not support, or can we direct. But we are actually here to listen to the voice of the community. So we really want to hear from you. So if you're interested in that, no pressure, of course. You can stay behind the scenes, but if you're like me and Amja, you want to be right up there in the front, then we welcome that too.
Energy, yeah,
we welcome that too. So yeah, so wow, what a powerful day. We were in the FA boardroom. It was really very nice, and the stadium provided the room and all of the things that we needed to facilitate the day, including tea, coffee, refreshments and sandwiches, all courtesy of a Wembley Stadium and the FA. So that was fantastic. Okay, so talking about the community, people often stop me and talk about my jewellery. So those of you that know me, I've got a real thing about jewellery, but not just jewellery, like meaningful jewellery. And I want you to be able to see my jewellery from across the road. So my jewellery's big. So if you are one of those people that want to find out a bit more about the jewellery that I wear, or want to just kind of see what other pieces there are, they're not all large and chunky. That's just the style that I like. But there's crystals and there's awesome silver. Why don't you join me today at the Unity Centre, 103 Church Road, NW10 9EG. From the hours of 5 until 8 p.m, where Eleanor, who makes all this fantastic jewellery, is going to be having a showcase alongside Talisman Creations. And it's a show and tell this Saturday, this evening, between the hours of 5 until 8 p.m. It's free. Just come down and have a look. No pressure to purchase. So I'm going to be going down there. Amja, are you into jewellery?
I'm definitely into jewellery. I love jewellery. In fact, some of the pieces that I have on, this is a malachite bangle that's come all the way from the Congo, so I've got that on. This is actually a piece of jewellery that I had custom made, which actually says Amja unabashedly on it. Andrew's World unabashedly that I got. I have another one which is like a little trinkety piece that's a heart, and it's got ADTK, which is the acronym for my womb gems. I'm into so much jewellery. I absolutely love. Got hoop earrings. This is the ring that I've had since I was 17 years old that I still have to this day. And for anybody that sees me, trust me, when I go out, I wear jewellery all the time. So I love
really are.
jewellery.
I call it adornments because I'm adorning
yourself,
my body.
definitely.
I've got this fabulous malachite piece that I wear around my neck.
That's lovely. Love malachite.
It stops traffic. So to Eleanor, thank you very much. So that's today between the hours of 5 and 8 p.m. at Unity Centre, 103 Church Road, NW10 9EG. So if you want to get involved in some of that, make your way down there, and I look forward to seeing you. So guys, I still want to hear, when was the last time you did so for the first time? And of course, have you been living your best life? I strive to live my best life every day, and I want to encourage you to do the same. It's a fantastic feeling. So we heard from Zora just a little while ago, who was giving me some information around donations, kidney donors, etc. But Zora's also passionately interested. She's passionate about people being in connection, and we're talking male and female connection. Soul to Soul Connections is the name of her organisation. And Zora wants to know, are you a melanin-rich singleton? Are you on your own? Are you looking for a novel way to keep fit? There's a combination of two nice things there. And do you want to keep your New Year's resolution? We spoke about New Year's resolutions last year. And maybe even find some romance along the way. So what this is an event where there's going to be a walk and a talk. But it's going to be on the way to romance, or bromance, as they say. And it's an event that's taking place in Brixton. So they're leaving from Brixton Station and they're walking to Dulwich Park. This is going to be on the 12th of February. They're meeting at 10 a.m. at Costa Coffee, Brixton. And they're going to be leaving from Brixton promptly at 11 a.m. And so en route, there are some planned stops for coffee and bathroom, because you'll need that. There are some places that are left, but the places are limited. So if you want to get involved in that, if you want to keep fit and see if you can find a soul connection on your way, then check into soul to soul connections, one word, that's connections with an x.co.uk. The cost for that event is £12. And if you want more direct information on that, then call Zora on 07918 155 625. That's 07918 155 625. So if you're looking for love and you want to keep fit and you want a coffee, then that's the place to be on the 12th of February. As always, it seems that women buy all the tickets. So if women are buying all the tickets and there ain't no men, then there's an imbalance. What say you, Amja?
Well, I don't know. I think there might be an imbalance, but genetically there are more of us, so that could be the reason. That could be, if we're looking at it from a natural order thing, that could be the reason as to why that's happening. Or it might be because they're feeling empowered to go for what they want and they're buying tickets to go to the event. Who knows?
I think you're right about all of the above. And as Amja said, there are more of us than there are of them. So guys, you're probably in a better position because you got to pick because you probably, there's like 3-1 or
3
something
to
like
1
that.
or something like
Yeah,
that.
there's about 3-1. And for the women, you got to really show up in your best gear and get yourself out there.
I'm gonna be chosen.
Yeah, because there's more of a challenge. So so that sounds really interesting. So guys, listen, if you've got any information that you want to share about your thoughts around the project that I'm doing, the piece that I've been commissioned to do for William Gladstone, let me know. 07956 548 781. Amja, let me go to you because I don't think I've done that yet. What have you got any thoughts around the piece that I've been commissioned to do?
I think it's one of those issues where, depending on what you feel about the events of the past and intergenerational trauma, what that means to you, particularly around them taking things down and changing, I feel sometimes it depends on where your emotions are. I think, as I've mentioned quite often on my show, that sometimes because of the impact of trauma that's within us, sometimes we find refuge in our pain. Okay, and we reside there, and we stay in this kind of victim state, which doesn't allow us to grow. And there are some that when you learn to kind of understand that element of what trauma does, you can actually see something that's traumatic and it no longer impacts you. That doesn't mean you're indifferent to the events of the past, but it doesn't mean necessarily that the statue has to be taken down, because it is a part of history. We have a respective and a collective evolving and change in our lives. You understand what I'm saying? When we see things, so if the statue's there, for some people they might want the statue to remain because it says, yeah, even though you did this, we are still here. And without that statue being there, you won't have the understanding of that part of, or for some people, they want it gone because they don't think that you should have the right to stand there based on the treachery, you know, that has been as the story to slavery goes. So for me, I try to look at things objectively and look at all of the different variables, and then make a decision around that. But again, like you said, it's important that we have consultation so we can hear the different perspectives on this situation. You know, if they are going to do something, then I think it's about telling the truth to the story. I think truth is the power of truth is probably what will allow the statue to remain. Do you understand? When you told the truth as to why that statue is there, and actually we were lauding somebody that had a very disgusting history, and to actually relay that so that people who see the statue can say, okay, the statue's there, but we're actually showing you now that, you know, there's a saying that what happens in the dark must come to light. Do you understand what I'm saying? What happens in the dark must come to light. And sometimes there are things that happen before, even if we at the time are not there to live it, our generations and our grandchildren and whoever are going to see, and there's a truth in the story, which is even the power within the fact that we are doing the consultation. Is about progress, is about evolving, it's about change. So I think it's important that lots of people get involved and they share their voice and how they feel about this, and there's a decision to be made. But for me, it's about the truth being told. No more cover-ups. Let's talk the truth about really what happened. And if the statue needs to remain, or the elements and the names need to remain, it remain, but you tell the reason as to how the misuse of power is the reason why these statues are there. That's how I feel. That's
a fabulous response. I look forward to joining the consultations because we need the voice and we need the balance. And really, interestingly, I did a consultation with young people. I just love young people.
Yeah.
And some said, well, actually, exactly what you're saying, it should be there, so we don't lose the reason why, because they said as a young person, if that's taken down, other young people aren't ever going to know maybe that it was up.
Yeah.
And other people are saying, well, actually, it's a good opportunity for us to say, you might have done that, but look at what we did despite all of that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there are a number of different viewpoints, and I love your viewpoint, and I'm just going to keep my light in my window and hope that it all goes simply like this.
Love this tune, love this tune.
This used to be my drive to work song. Come on now. Shouts out to all the Instagram Live listeners. Thank you for tuning in. pain. Coming up next, after the Temptations, we're going straight over to interview the fabulous Amja, unabashedly. So I
dim my light in the window. I feel so good when I hit my fellow man. So I keep my light in the window till love and mercy sprinkle on the land. So I keep my light in the window.
Ease the pain.
I guess that's the point, isn't it, Amja, about easing the pain, isn't
Ease
it?
the pain, man.
Yeah.
Ease the pain. We've got to learn, find ways, inner tools to ease the pain.
For me and you.
If you just joined us, it's a Chalkhill community radio station. It is, of course, a Let's Talk show live with the girl Blaze. Our special guest today is Amja unabashedly, coming up after the Temptations.
For me and you.
We've got to do another one again.
You're listening to Chalkhill Community Radio, keeping the community connected.
So we are absolutely keeping the community connected. Thank you to everybody for tuning in this morning. This is a really special show. For those of you that tuned in earlier, you would have heard Amja say that we've been having these meaningful conversations, but in passing. We are not passing today. We are sat in the same space, and we're going to take it away. Amja, I just want to welcome you for the second time.
Thank you, thank you.
To our studio, but to the Let's Talk show. And I really appreciate you coming on, because I was saying to Amja, for some reason, I didn't have a guest lined up this week, when generally my guests are lined up months and weeks in advance. And I just think that there was a reason for that. And the reason is because you were meant to do this show
Definitely.
So thank you for that. So Amja is a London-based therapeutic art life coach. She's a multidisciplinary artist. She's a radio show presenter, as we've mentioned. She's the founder of Amja Unabashedly, where love, art, and inspiration empower. I just love that intro. But what I want you to do, Amja, is that although we've kind of seen each other over a period of time, I kind of want to get a sense of your background. I think there was a time when we lived in the same space.
Yeah.
But memory for me is challenging. So just tell us about your background, where you grew up, your cultural heritage and that kind of thing.
So my cultural heritage is that I was born to teenage parents in the 70s. My mum and dad. My dad is My father is he's biracial, although he'll always say I'm black. His father was Chinese and his mother was a black Jamaican woman, and they came England and had a very difficult time, as you can imagine, at that time coming to the UK. And then my mother was born in St. Lucia and came to the UK as a young girl. I think she was around about 11 years old. But when I think about my parents, and regardless of how difficult it would have been at that time, a lot of what I have, I say to people, I've got the best premium jeans ever. Levi's, Diesel, none of them ain't got nothing on my mum and dad. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I'm grateful for that and the experiences that I've had. With my mother, I lived with my mum for a long time, up until I moved into Chalkhill. So I came from quite a privileged background in the sense that I went to a very good school in Sloane Square. My mother worked in Harrods, so a lot of my stuff came from Harrods as a child. I had a dishwasher when I was 8 years old, so I'm talking 30 odd whatever years ago. And you know, my mum really, she was a single parent at the time, and she did a lot to make sure that I had a lot of things. So like for me, I went to dance class at Pineapple Dance Studio in Covent Garden, so I had that kind of a lifestyle when I was younger. Then something happened between my mum and dad, and I ended up in Chalkhill. And no disrespect, but at the time it was like a total cultural shock to me. I spoke differently to everybody. I didn't understand living the Garchi, how to do all of that stuff. There was just so many things that were different.
Tell everyone what a Garchi is, because everyone at Chalkhill might not know.
Okay, so a Garchi is a facility, it's like a system that you had in the sink. It was built specifically for Chalkhill Estate at the time, and you'd put your rubbish in there and twist this thing, pull it up, it would release it, and it would go down into some kind of sewage space. And it was in the middle of the kitchen. I was like, what is this? The one that my mum has, I don't need to do anything more than drop it in and press a button. So it was a totally different situation for me. But that being said, being in Chalkhill, I mean, my life with my mother is an integral part of me, but so is the Chalkhill community, which is the reason why I'm here today anyway, as a presenter with you on this show. And there was so much richness in Chalkhill. It taught me about resilience. It taught me about solidarity. It taught me about courage. It taught me about being courageous to make, because you were coming from a demographic where socially and a socio-economic position at the time, for a lot of the people, they were in lower incomes, but they found a way to make a way. And that is something that I know within myself, that when there's a difficult time, you have your creativity within you and you can do something about your situation. So for Chalkhill, for that, I'm so grateful for that. So yeah, I did a lot of running up and down on the walkways with my friends, knocking on the doors. I'm playing Knock Down Ginger, irritating people, well springs, all of the sports, the all-dayers. As you know, we had Superflex at the front, at the shops. Like, I have such a rich memory of what Chalkhill has. And the reason why I talk about this so often is because some people have a preconceived notion that it was just a ghetto, the negative elements to the ghetto, and it was just badness. I mean, there were things that happened, I'm not going to deny that, but there was also richness, there was also beauty, there was also even being protected by the guys that we hung around with. We got a lot of male protection, where people don't think that happens because you're in the ghetto, it's all gangstery. Like, that's not a truth, because you're not telling the whole story, you're not giving the context to the situation. So for me, Chalkhill is like absolutely it's in my heart.
Yeah, I love that, because there is that history. So I think it was Chalkhill, Stonebridge, Church Road, and a bit later on Monk's Park. And all of those areas, there was this perception, like you said, that we just running around barefoot, stealing and you know, in gangs and that kind of thing. And that wasn't true. We're not saying that didn't happen.
Yeah, there was elements.
But what you're saying is that there was real community.
Totally.
And it was just this one big family. I affectionately refer to us as Chalkhillians.
Yep, me too. Me too.
If you're a Chalkhillian, you just know. So I'm going to send some shouts out to all of you who are straight out of Chalkhill, to all the Chalkhillians, and if you know, you just know it was a beautiful place to live in.
Definitely.
And you know, even with the reunions, when we come back for a reunion, it's like we've never been apart. We used to do the Cecil James Day. Big shouts go out to my brother Sid, and Cecil James was somebody who played football at Chalkhill Community Radio Station. No, it's at Poplar Grove, sorry. At Poplar Grove. And unfortunately, he died whilst playing football. And year after year after year, Sid put together the Cecil James Day. And I kid you not, some people would manage their holidays around that so they could be here for that day. And then what we saw was our children having children, and then this family just got bigger. So I love that. And I love that you're able to talk about two aspects of your life.
Yeah.
Because often people have one trajectory, and that's it. So I love that you were able to kind of appreciate a different lifestyle.
Definitely.
And I resonate to that, so I love it. So Chalkhill to Chalkhill, thank you. That was absolutely super. So Amja, in your introduction, there are a number of things that you do. And so it sounds like you're really, really very busy. Let's talk about your love for art.
Okay, so the reality, so the story about the artistry is, I never knew intentionally, so I wasn't consciously an artist in the sense of how people see me. Now everybody sees Amja's art, people come to watch me do art live and all of that kind of stuff. But what it was is, because of the story of my situation, the impact of what domestic abuse was, I actually was getting access from a support service, and I had done a photograph book which was telling the story of domestic abuse through the power of photography, and I created this book. They put it into a book for each of the attendees to the session, and then they came and said, they were like, you are really creative. There's going to be another project with this famous artist by the name of Rachel Gadsden. She's got a disability. She was commissioned to do the artistry for the 2012 Paralympics, and she was coming in and she had a conversation, and she just said to us, and she gave me a piece of canvas. She cut off a piece of canvas and she said, go paint. And it was an opportunity for me to talk through the power of creativity. I didn't know what I was doing. I literally know that my ancestors, the soul, just spoke on the canvas for me, because prior to that, my narrative was being lost in gaslighting. It was being lost in coercive control. And it was an opportunity for me to literally shut my mouth, literally don't say verbal words, and talk through the power of creativity on canvas. And that's how the artistry came. And since then, that was in 2018. I've been told by people, there's no way that you didn't go to art school. I'm like, no, because when...
Can I just ask you, Amja, was it that you had kind of like no interest in art, or was it that you didn't know how awesome your art was? What
do you know what it is? I used to doodle. So one of my cousins says, well, I don't really agree with your story, because when we were kids, you could doodle. I used to do a lot of doodling, and you would just doodle things and people could understand what it was that you had done on paper without you talking. So it's something that has always been there. And that's why earlier I said it wasn't a conscious artistry. It wasn't conscious. Like I wasn't creating that type of art with intention. Now I have a saying where I feel that we come from creativity, so creativity is our birthright. So we naturally create every moment of our day in various ways, whether that's conscious or unconscious. It's up to the individual. So in that instance, I wasn't consciously doing the art prior to that. Whereas, I mean, I was doing art, but no, let's say visual artistry. Let me be clear on that. I wasn't consciously doing visual artistry, but I've always been creative. I've loved fashion. I've done makeup artistry prior to being an artist in and had some art, did some art makeup with the Modern Iman's makeup artist. I was a vocalist in a Latin American group in Canada, and I sang. So creativity has always been a part of me, but the actual visual artistry on canvas, on paper, that only happened when I had no other choice but to talk my story, and which my piece created at the time was called Perception, because it was my perception of what I was going through at that time. And that's how this whole art journey has developed and manifested into what people now know as Amja unabashedly.
It's really interesting. I'm just going to make a note though. Amja and I spoke about jewellery before, and she's got some very noisy jewellery going on, and like me, she speaks with her hands. So all that jingles that you can hear, that's not part of her art. That's just her moving her hands around. So I just thought I'd mention that.
I'll take that.
But it's interesting because you spoke about perception as being the first piece that you named, the artwork that you've done. But it also speaks to your perception about art.
Yeah.
Because you didn't really have a perception that you were an artist.
No, not at all.
But you know, and sometimes when people say artist, the first thing people think about is drawing, painting, whatever. But you've spoken about singing.
Yeah.
Were you singing in a different language? Are you multilingual?
No, I'm not multilingual, but what my name was Brown Chuka. Because they were Latin American and they said chuka instead of sugar. So it was Chombo and Brown Sugar. He was from the Dominican and it was a music group. We had dancers. We'd go to like parties, quite wealthy people's parties in Canada, and perform for them live. And it was interesting. It was an interesting time. So vocally, I sang there, and that was just because I was asked. So I never went to music school or anything like that. A lot of what I will say is a lot of the things that happen in my life, I'm now realizing it was just courage. It was just like you said, if you don't try, there's so much power in failure. We think of failure from a negative connotation, but there is so much power in that, because if you don't try something, you won't know whether it's going to be. And then if you keep doing it, you improve. Do you understand? And so for me, yeah, that was it. I'm not multilingual. My St. Lucian family would be quite frustrated at me because I don't speak Patois. I don't speak the Creole. That was a decision from my father when I was younger, which I don't know why he made that decision. So I'm not multilingual per se. I know a bit here and there of different languages, but to have a full dialogue, no.
That's great, because before the show started, with Amja and I both being presenters, we know what needs to happen in order for a show to go ahead. And we were kind of a bit 7 and 8 this morning, not quite sure what happened. I couldn't find my pen, and then I couldn't find my notes, and then I was like, my USB stick's gone. How did I arrive here? Because I knew that I'd planned the night before. But what we spoke about was failure or things not going right, and Big E and I talk about this probably every week on the show, and that's why we say it's Let's Talk Show, anything can happen, and it usually does. But it's fine, because when something doesn't go the way in which you wanted it to go, it's often something that you need to kind of just think about. Why did that not go right? Not so that you berate yourself, but okay, what was it that made that thing go that way when I actually wanted it to go this way? Sometimes it's about progress. It's about moving from one space to the next. It's about change and challenge. So I think we both want to encourage you to kind of think about your pain, turn it into purpose. How can I move from this space? We're not saying ignore pain, so we're going to be talking about mental health coming up a bit shortly, and we're going to be talking some more about domestic abuse. Canada, how did you end up in Canada?
So I've been when I was younger, so my dad left the UK and he went to live in Canada, and I actually went to live in Canada with my dad for a little while when I was 8 years old. So I've always had, and I went to school out there. I have a sister. I had 2 siblings actually. My sister lives there now, and one of my brothers, although he was born here, he also went to Canada, but now he lives here. So I have family out there. I have my just big up to 100% crew, my sisterings them in Canada, which I met when I was 17 years old when I went back. But so Canada, I went to school there and I stayed there for a little bit while, and as we do, as we'll talk about later on, there was a lot of battling between my mum and dad as who should have me. And so then I ended up back in the UK. And then when I was about 17 years old, I had left Chalkhill. I had a very difficult experience at that time from 16 to 17-year-old. And actually my brother's mum, so it's not even my biological mum. So just to put it out there, I have my biological mum, who is my mother, who me having other mums doesn't take away from my biological mum. Mum, I love you if you're watching. I'm my biological mother, but my brother's mum, she saw me, and I was in a difficult time at the age of 16, and she must have said to my father, but she wanted to be a doctor. What's going on? Like,
so is that what you wanted to be?
That's what I wanted to be when I was younger. I wanted to be a doctor. She's like, what's going on in her life? And I don't know what conversation transpired between them, but within about 4 weeks later, I was on an aeroplane and I was on a flight to Canada.
And when you arrived in Canada, was it that the suggestion was that you would pursue your passion to be a doctor? Was it just a change?
It was just a change of environment, and then what happened is the change of environment came, and then it was a decision that I would stay longer, and then I ended up going to those the North American high school. I went to one of those as well, okay. And it was just a different direction, and it brought me back to what my mother was encouraging me to do, is to know within myself that I have the power within me to do anything that I want in my life. It doesn't matter how you've been racialized in this world, whether you've been racialized as black, white, or whatever people tell you. Every single one of us has the tools within us. We just need to know how to draw it out. And I think my experience in Canada at that time reminded me of that, because the conversation was, what uni are you going to? Where are you going? I was fortunate enough that I lived in quite an affluent area when I lived in Canada as well. So seeing that and seeing people, this is why I'll stop. representation is so important, because in the area that I lived in at the time in Canada, there were people that looked like me that were doing big things. Do you understand me? It wasn't just a certain set of society that was doing it. There were people with the same type of hue as me that were doing amazing things, living in decent homes, being able to have access to things that for some of us in Chalkhill we would never even know about, much less see. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it was a real switch, and it kind of brought me back to the foundations of what my mother was trying to do for me at that time.
How important was that for you? Because as you quite rightly said, you know, not even just living in Chalkhill, just living in the UK at a particular time, we didn't see that kind of representation so much, and we certainly didn't see it kind of like on mainstream TV. We weren't on the front of magazines. In fact, I don't even know if we were even in magazines. So what did that mean for you when you went to Canada now and saw all of these people that looked like you, that were doing all of these awesome things? What did that mean for you?
It reminded me that I am my ancestors' wildest dream. It reminded me that I am awesome. It reminded me that I am genius. It reminded me that I'm capable. It reminded me of so many things which I think every single human has the capacity to have. It just depends on how you're being socialized or determine what you think of yourself. It helped, and don't get it twisted. There were times when I went through difficult times. Like if my step parents were to talk to you now, they would tell you that I was a rotten child, because I had a lot of pain that I was going through, which is why I said it was a difficult time. So I was a little bit feisty and rude. You understand what I'm saying? I don't deny that. Yeah. I'm not here to sit down and pretend that I was this little well-behaved young lady. I so was not that. But I was also very loving. I've always been very compassionate, very empathic, and very creative. And so it was a time of newness. It was a time of reckoning. It was a time of me learning about myself with all of the difficulties that I have. And that's why I constantly say to people, you look at me, but I'm continually, up until my last breath, I will always be a work in progress. And I'm going to have moments when I'm up there. I'm going to have moments when I'm doing things that when I check myself, when I have my inner conversation with myself, I'm going to have to check myself and take accountability. And it was just a time where what I will say was the power in that whole situation was the love that my step-parents gave me. They gave me an abundance of love. They just threw love at me all the time. When I did something wrong, they had a loving conversation with me. They didn't berate me. They loved me, and they were like, we know that this is going on for you, but it doesn't have to be like that. Like constantly, I just saw them recently, which was quite difficult for me because they're getting older now. I feel quite emotional about that, and their anxiety around about what's going on in the world means to them. But they were just beautiful people, beautiful people. They gave me, you know, sometimes people say they gave you a second chance. They gave me the second chance, definitely, because like my stepdad, and actually my stepfather is somebody who's been racialized as white, tall, epitome of what people would say white, blonde hair, blue eyes, tall white man, and he was the one, I would say, that used to tell me constantly, I remember you wanted to be a doctor. I remember how when I met you when you was 11 years old, I was wowed by you at 11. Like, you can still do this thing. So even though I didn't go down the direction of being a doctor, I've done so many amazing things, because it's about, self-belief is one thing, but sometimes you need the support to get there. So sometimes you need the support to identify your self-love and your self-care, do you understand? And I got that from them.
I love that. Today's show, if you've just tuned in, it's called For the Love of Me. Our special guest today is Amja unabashedly, and she's taken us on a real journey. And we are talking about the fact that you were born to be real and not to be perfect. And Amja talks about being a difficult, rotten child, but she talks about the fact that really she was work in progress. She talks about the fact that she had a lot of love, and today we are talking about For the Love of Me. Amja spoke about having this real passion, even at 11 years old, to be a doctor. And I just want to say to you, Amja, that doctors are there to make people well. That's our perception of it, and to look after people. Yeah. But we can do that in different ways.
100.
So whilst you might not be a doctor working in A&E, you have some doctorate aspects to what you do.
Definitely.
So I want to say to you today that you reached your goal and that you are a doctor. And we're going to talk about a bit more about that soon. But work in progress, I love that, because I don't think that should stop. I think we should continue to be works in progress, because otherwise there's this pressure for perfection.
Yeah.
And what is that? So Amja says she's a work in progress, just like
Definitely.
this. God, you have a very interesting life, isn't it?
Yeah, very.
Up and down, and isn't that beautiful? That's why when my son said, "Mom, I'm not coming back," I was like, "Do your thing.
Hear that, people? Work in progress.
Do your thing.
Do
You're
your
a work
thing.
in progress.
I know.
Do your thing."
I am a work in progress. I know that these paint splatters across my canvas look like a mess, but my artist isn't finished with me yet. When it all comes together, the brushstrokes of my life, it'll create a masterpiece. Only then will I understand why the reds were so deep and why the blues were so true. It's only then will I understand all of the things my canvas went through. It's a process, a development for sure, that'll make me a work of art that will allure those who are attracted to such things, those who will look closely and find the beauty within me. So bear with me, for I am still a work in progress.
So for those of you listening live on Instagram, this is Chalkhill Community Radio Station. It is the Let's Talk Show live, and today's show is entitled For the Love of Me. Our special guest is Amja unabashedly, and she is taking us on an awesome journey and unpacking her canvas right here in the studio.
I'm gonna make it someday. I'm gonna be great. Just bear with me, bear with me. Just bear with me, bear with me, bear with me.
Yeah, work in progress. I'm that work in progress.
Have you got any comments on there that you want to shout out to?
There's quite a few people, so I'm gonna say my shouts out to. Let's start from Woo. So we've got Carmen.
Okay, so we're going to go live, but what you can do
Yeah.
is you can send your shout outs so that everyone on the
Chalkhill
station
Community Radio.
can hear
Check
it.
out our website for the latest news and review. We are always looking for new presenters. If you're interested, please contact chalkhillcommunityradio@gmail.com.
So guys, don't forget that we are looking for presenters. Open evening this Wednesday, 26th of January, right here at the Grange in Neasden, NW10 1QB, from the hours of 6 until 8 p.m, where you can meet myself, Blaze, and also the fabulous Amja, some of the other presenters, get to meet some of the community, have some food, have some drink. We look forward to you joining us. Amja also has some guests listening on Instagram. Amja, is anyone on Instagram that you want to respond to or give a shout out to?
I'm going to give some shouts out. So I'm going to give a shout out to one of my womb gems who I think is on, but it looks like they've disappeared. To my beautiful I Am Calmy Love. She's my sister and she's actually a co-host to my show, so she's here. We've got She Wolf Diaries, is somebody that I do collaborations with. Leonie Art Life, I want to big you up. I want to say hello to Mr. FKOH has joined. Thank you so much. I've done a little bit of work with him that will come out shortly. I've met this lovely individual called Silu, Silleaule, which I just recently met on Thursday. Absolutely lovely woman. We've got a Chalkhillian online here, which is... oh my goodness, I've forgotten his name. Is it Ivor? I think it's Ivor.
Okay,
Ivor. Yeah,
Ivor.
Ivor. Hi, Ivor. We've got Rita Capita, who does the most. You need to look her up. Rita Capita, Amja on Instagram. She does empowerment dolls. They are the best empowerment dolls ever. And I'm hoping to have her as a guest on the show because she's absolutely amazing. We've got Fiona. We've got Mr. Superflex, Desmond.
Big up Superflex,
Big up
station manager.
Superflex, South African Flower. Like, there's so many of you here, and I just want to give you a massive love to everybody that's joined me. I always say her name wrong, Arjeen. She's somebody that I know who's bought so many of my t-shirts, one which I'm wearing now. I've got another friend who's on here, creatives, like so many people, so many people. Now, I always say her name wrong, and it's Deidais, and I think it's because it's Spanish and I always get it wrong. She's an amazing creative as well, so there's quite a creative community that I've met these people for me being courageous with my creativity. That's how I've met all of these people that are online. So yeah, I just wanted to big up everybody that's on here and to say thank you and that I love you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Amja, where do you get your courage from?
Where do I get my courage from? My mum. But actually, both my parents. So my father represented this country nationally in a combat sport. And my mother was one of the first racialized women as black women to work as an accountant for Harrods in that kind of a role as a young girl, as me being a single parent. So I've watched everything that I can do. People are like, how can you do this? It's my mum. My mum used to go out with her girlfriends and have a pair of shoes and then get the material and match a piece of lace to make the handbag. My mum can fix everything and anything. There's nothing, if my mum's leg wasn't hurting her and her tile on her roof went off, she'd be up there on the roof fixing that. So all of the things that I can do, which helped me when I lived in Jamaica in terms of construction, is definitely because my mum. No disrespect, Dad. My dad can just about flip a burger on the barbecue. So I get that part from that courage to just do new things. I watch my mum do everything and anything. She used to do handmade wedding dresses while studying a law degree and being an accountant. So I get that from my mum, definitely.
Wow, that actually, do you know, although I haven't met your mum, I feel like I have in meeting you because you are so multi-talented. And I can see you going up on the roof with your multicolored nail polish and your chinky bangles and your loop earrings. I can see you doing that.
Yeah, that's definitely me.
And we're going to talk about the fact that you're wearing a t-shirt that you've designed in a bit. But tell us about Jamaica.
So the first time I went to Jamaica was to send my paternal grandmother back to her ancestors. I went there for that celebration of life for my grandmother. And it was the most greatest experience in my life at the time. At that time, I had actually met my children's father just prior to that. So he came there afterwards. I was there like a week. And then through the journey of our relationship, where we've brought 4 amazing womb gems in this world together. As everybody knows,
they had 4.
Yeah, I got 4 womb gems, and he's responsible for that. So regardless of the topics that we may talk about, I have to give thanks for that part. I don't deny any part of my journey, because without him, I don't have 4 beautiful womb gems. And then we moved there. I've been there back and forward for a lot of time, and then I actually lived there, and we actually ran a farm out there. So I'm actually a farmer as well. So
it's just to add something else.
So we were one of the first people in the islands at the time to create a biodigester where we used the waste from the animals and turned it into fuel to fuel our property at the time. So we've done, because I was very much into the environment and all of that stuff. So I was a farmer. So I'd be, as you said, in the makeup and the hair done up nice, walking in wedding boots, farming, knowing how to, help birth animals when they're going through labour. I do all of that stuff. I've done all of that.
Well.
So I'm an animal midwife.
I've had some people on the show, but I've never had an animal midwife or a farmer, I don't think.
Yeah, so I did that. And my children, and one of the things about representation as well, which I mentioned earlier, because my children, especially my oldest 2, went to school in Jamaica, I feel that's the foundation why they're doing some amazing things. I'm so proud of what they're doing. And I think that's got a lot to do with when they lived in Jamaica, they saw doctors, lawyers, people in positions of what we call power that looked like them, so they knew it was obtainable. Sometimes when you're taken out of your traditional cultural environment and you're in a very westernized culture where you do not see people that look like you get caught up in the illusion that you can't do these things. And so
Absolutely.
I think that's definitely a powerful part. So we lived out there. I know how to lay block. I know how to mix mortar. Like I love all of that stuff, hands on. I remember actually being at school with the all girls school that I went to, and I wanted to do more construction, woodwork stuff, and they just didn't have a program at the time, because that's what I wanted to do.
Was it that
as
they
well.
didn't have a program at all, or they didn't have one for girls?
They didn't have one for girls because we had the boys' school. That was another boys' school that they had the program there. So the boys would come over to do home economics, but we wouldn't go over there to do any of that kind of stuff. So it wasn't a big program that we had. But I've always been somebody that likes to fix. So if something's broken and something, I will figure out a way of how to fix that. Do you understand me? I'm interested. It's the process for me. And some of my womb gems are like that as well. Like, I set them together as a task one time, my two oldest one, because they kept arguing. I put an IKEA box in there and I said, fix it together. And I just locked the door. Not locked it, but I closed the door and said, you're going to have to learn these things in your life. So this is what you're going to do. And they talk about it all the time, that they're so grateful that because of the way myself and their father raised them, they can do amazing things. Because he was very, very... Their father was exceptionally good at building with his hands. He could make jewelry, as we spoke about, and do lots of things. I don't like to discredit him, because through his energy, I have these beautiful things. And that doesn't mean I'm indifferent to what I experienced with him either.
That's really great, because modelling, I run a number of parenting programs, and modelling is one of the key things. So it's true that your children are who they are because of the modelling. It's true that you are who you are because of the modelling of your parents. Whether it's flipping the burger, because I'm sure after farming you needed to eat some food. So whether it's flipping the burger, fixing the roof tile, all of the things that make up your construct, we then pass on to you know, to our womb gems, as you refer to them, and of which you have 4.
I have 4 amazing womb gems. Amazing womb gems. I just saw one of them perform the other day, and I watched her perform, and I was crying because she held the room. She's my youngest girl womb gem. She's the youngest one, and I just, there was a sea of people in this venue, and they were calling her and it's like had this little fan base, and all I keep thinking of was my womb gem. Look what's happened from my womb gem. So, you know, I have 4. They're just so amazing. One speaks Mandarin, has travelled, and they're just doing some amazing things. Like my oldest is when I tell you, as I'm going to use street vernacular, a bad girl photographer, wicked photographer. And one of my other womb gems, actually as a young person was a national champion for a sport. So I've got like really amazing young people, which I'm grateful for as well. And the sport element, even though my dad struggled and he just about flip a burger, he is exceptionally at the discipline that I have. When I lived on Chalkhill, before I went to school, my dad used to make me run, because I was a 102 metre runner at a very high level. And my dad used to make me run because that was his thing. He was into sports. I'm not going to say his name because quite a lot of people know who he is, because I'm a bit mindful of that. But my dad was absolutely fantastic. So as you said, both the modelling of my mum and dad is allowed me to still have the youthful energy because of the sports, and the way that my dad used to make me eat foods that I probably didn't want at the time, but when I look at my physicality now, it's because of the conditioning that my father gave me. So that part has a lot to do with my dad. Do you understand? So I come from amazing parents.
What a great story. I really like that. So it is a show entitled For the Love of Me, and you describe love in so many different aspects from so many different individuals, and in you talking about your beautiful womb gems, there is so much love. I can feel it and see it in your eyes, that you are just so uplifted by how they are, and how they kind of present themselves, and what you see in you that you see in them. And I think maybe they need to come to that event next week, because we're looking for some bad girl photographers, and we're looking for all kinds of people to come and be a part of the Chalkhill Community Radio Station. But you are a part of the Chalkhill Community Radio Station, and you are a presenter. Tell me how you came to be a part of Chalkhill Community Radio Station.
So for those of you who know me as Amja unabashedly online, I do something called Thank You Thursday, where I kiss the universe and I tell her thank you for the gifts yet to come, because we do not know at that moment of the past how it's going to be of benefit in the future. So as much as I do a rampage of gratitude for the things that I'm aware of in my current moment, I like to give thanks for the things that are yet to come and to always say thank you, particularly when I'm going through a really difficult time. That's when I say thank you the most, because I'm saying something must come out of this when I'm in that moment. So what happened was I was doing Thank You Thursdays, and I was doing them, and I did a Thank You Thursday for Chalkhill community to say to people, you know, everybody looks at me and people are like, oh, Amja, you're doing this and you're that. And I said, Chalkhill gave me is an integral part as to modelling who I am today, because as we spoke earlier, I learned so much from the community. Like Gaia, big up Gaia. Big up Gaia 6. She took me to my first ever hip hop concert, where I actually got to meet Real Roxanne Shante and all of those people when they had it in UK Fresh 86. Gaia took me to that. I was bigging up all of these people from Chalkhill, Wellsprings, Coffers was the first place that we did theatre, Coffer Community Centre, like all of these things, which in those moments, I did not know how they were going to be of benefit today. But the music that Gaia introduced me to, having an opportunity of representation with teachers that were teaching us about theatre that looked like me, let me know that it was I was capable. Like all of these things. So I was given a thank you. And it just so happens that weeks later, Flex actually saw the video and didn't know, because I hadn't seen people from Chalkhill for quite some time, like on and off, like on street, but not in a big as you do.
So had you moved out of the area?
I had moved out of the area by then for years. I moved out of Chalkhill when I was 16. So then Flex was like, oh my God, Antonia, Amja, oh, your Thank You Thursdays are amazing. We would love something like that on our show. And I was like, you know what? Other people have contacted me for other stations, but I thought to myself, this is foundation for me. Let me use my truth and live my life and what it is that I'm doing to hopefully inspire and empower. Love, art and inspiration empowers the people that I've grown with, because I know how many amazing creatives, like Chalkhill has some of the most creative, phenomenal people, and I thought, I bet some of them have got a CD in their bedroom in a cupboard that they're not even playing anymore, that the world needs to hear. I bet they've got a novel somewhere written in a notebook on a piece of paper that they're not sharing. How can I use the power of creative expression, of my power of creative expression and my ability to speak the way in which I do, to remind them of their greatness? Because sometimes life can take you down a road where you forget who you are and your purpose and what your magic, so to speak, is. So that's how the Love, Art and Inspiration show came about.
What's fantastic about that, it is that kind of giving back. Is that, and that's the thing about Chalkhill, because like you, I thought about perhaps doing a show on, I'm not going to name any stations, but some other stations. But then when Chalkhill came about, I thought absolutely 100%. And in doing the show now for about 4 years, people said things like, well, are you not going to go to LBC? Are you not going to go to BBC and all that? But actually, what I know about Chalkhill, like you said, it is the foundation. And the Chalkhillians that I just can't tell you in the same way that you've described. I can't tell the listeners how, if you're from Chalkhill, you know exactly
the energy,
what resonates with us. And so to come back and to give to or to give out, I get it's really powerful. Just
to say, Six has just come on and said foundation, 100%. Guy just come and said foundation. Big shouts out, Six.
Amja, tell me about your name. Tell me about Amja unabashedly.
Okay, so for people that know me, for the Chalkhillians that know me, right, my name is, my birth given name from my parents is Antonia. My mother named me Antonia Marie Juliana Antoinette. That's the name from Marie Antoinette, because my mum's into French, she speaks French and all the rest of it. So what happened was, when I went through my experience of domestic abuse, when you're going through domestic abuse, not only was I domestically abused, but I was also stalked and attacked and had hot oil thrown in my face, and it was a very difficult time. And when you're in that space of trauma, your identity gets stolen. It's stolen. And I made a commitment to myself that if I got through this most difficult stage in my life, and to touch base, trauma trigger warning, I've already been kidnapped in Jamaica and held at gunpoint, so I know what that was like. That was nothing compared to what this was, because this was an orchestrated targeted thing where somebody had been stalking me to do this thing to me. It was a really, really difficult time in my life, and so my identity was stolen. I was being parentally alienated. I wasn't having contact with my children. I was just in a dark place, and I said, you know what, I'm going to have a rebirth. And this time around, because I'm making it out of this, I'm going to use everything that has been given to me, including the names that my mother has given me that other people don't know. And I'm going to manifest it into something that is great. So Amja is an acronym of those names that my mum gave me in the order that she gave me. And it created the name Amja. And that's how Amja unabashedly came about.
Fantastic. Because I was on a Zoom last weekend talking about names and the power of your name. What does it mean? Who gave you that name?
Yeah.
How do you feel when you hear it?
Yeah.
How do you feel when you say it?
Yeah.
Do people kind of mess around with it? So my name when not doing the show is Patricia, and I get Trish, Pat, Patty, P, Miss P, and it's just a lot.
Yeah.
And I was kind of given or acquired the name Blaze because of the amount of energy that I've got.
Yeah.
And so I love that you have changed your name somewhat, but really you've kept all aspects
foundation.
of your name.
Yeah.
And that's really great. Amja, I want to take you to a bit of a different place.
Yeah.
Or actually going back to a place that you've just skirted over.
Yeah.
You spoke about being stalked and about an awful incident.
Yeah.
But you actually went back to that space and that time one day. Tell me about that day.
So what happened was, I think that was this week actually. I was driving, and I had somewhere to go, and my intuition, just to give the reason why I listen to my intuition more so as an adult is because whenever I've listened to it, it's manifested into something great. And the day that I got attacked, the day that the stalker first started stalking me, when they wanted to do their initial attack, why I didn't get burnt and scarred is because my intuition told me to take out my headphones and to just look around. For someone, I was listening to a song, which I was just listening to a song, and my intuition told me to take out my headphones, and I noticed the individual just looking out of place. So you see, because of that, when my intuition speaks to me, I may not have to do anything, but I pay attention. So when I was driving, my intuition said, just go around there. Just go around there and just go and go. So that's what I did.
Had that been the first time you'd been back there since the incident?
It hadn't been the first time that I had been back there to that. I'd gone back to the first place where they had done it to me, the first instance of them stalking to me, the actual attack. I had gone close to there. I had been around in that vicinity because part of my therapy, because I was diagnosed with PTSD, was about grounding. And
can you tell everybody what PTSD is?
Post-traumatic stress disorder. It's what happens when you've had an intense amount of stresses, and that it manifests into many things physiologically in your body, the way you think, the way you see. I had massive paranoia because I always thought somebody was going to attack me all the time. I had anxiety around wearing heel shoes because when I got attacked, I ran and I had trainers on. So for ages, I would just wear trainers because I was afraid that if I had heels on, if somebody was coming for me again, I wouldn't be able to run. So these are the type of things where your perception at the time can be a bit out of sync with what was the reality, and then you kind of catastrophize things. Do you understand? So yeah, so that was that Thursday was not the first time that I had been there, but it was the first time that I spoke there so powerful that I was just like I said before about your earlier piece, sometimes there are things that have created trauma, but when we no longer find refuge in our pain, we're able to look at it objectively and do something with it and repurpose that energy. And so what I did was I repurposed the energy of my pain about that experience and utilized it to be able to talk about, I've been here. For anybody who needs to hear this, trauma is real. It can impact your life, but you do have the tools within you to get out of it. It's just sometimes being able to access trauma-informed support services to help you out of it.
So is that how you, because you've spoken about how you changed your thought processes around that and how you dealt with your trauma. Tell us a bit more about that. Or I guess if somebody's listening who's in a place of trauma, what might you say to them now? I know you said there's some other services, but what are some aspects of the process?
You know, the process of that, this is keeping it as real as I can real. I have my art piece Perception where it says the art of conscious awareness. and cybernetics, which is now the modern term, is what we do with coaching, neuro-linguistic programming, and re-changing. I literally had to lose my mind on purpose. So although other people around me who didn't understand what was going on with me thought I was going crazy on that negative idea of having a mental situation, of a mental crisis, I had to lose my mind on purpose. It's like bringing your computer into a computer specialist and data wiping everything and starting again. I had to data wipe. I had to do the meditation. I had to do the cutting off from even family members that I loved very much, but their narrative and their energy just was not for me at that time. I had to disconnect from so many things and so many people, and to literally have a necessary fall. I've got an art piece called The Fall, which is she's like this, and she literally, I had to fall and had to, you mentioned it earlier, I had to look at my pain and I had to love it, and I had to take it with me and look at myself and then create the life I want through visualization, through the affirmations that I was given, the type of music that I was listening to. I just had to just go in and accept that there are going to be people who don't understand what I'm doing right now, but that's okay, because as I said earlier, what happens in the dark must come to light. And it was a dark place at that time. Do you understand? And I had to just data wipe everything. Don't get me wrong. Like I said earlier, I'm a work in progress. I still, as they say in Jamaica, backslide a little bit, because it's natural. It's a part of the process.
And we're keeping it real today.
And keeping it real, right? But I had to just change everything. And some people may not have understood, particularly when you're seen as somebody who is quite powerful, because regardless of what happened to me, I was in a very senior corporate role. I was a mother to 4 womb gems. I had run a business in Jamaica with my children's father. I had done many great things. So when you have that, people have that image of you, and now I'm not doing that. Like I did a post maybe in 2019 that I can tell you this, my mental health crisis was, I wasn't in a situation where I wasn't keeping up with my personal hygiene, but I wore ripped jeans, a t-shirt and a Birkenstocks for nearly every single day. No makeup, no lip gloss, no nothing. I was just totally in a different place. Whereas before, I was that corporate woman that dressed sharp, you know. And that's how actually my poem, I'm going to help my sister rise, came about. It was about my experience and watching other women who had been domestically abused, or who had VAWG, which is violence against women and girl experiences. And that's how that poem came about, because we have a preconceived notion sometimes, because of the way the media talks about domestic abuse and violence against women and girls, that it's a broke down, mush up woman who's on social assistance that's going through this thing. Domestic abuse touches every type of woman. I don't care what you look like. I don't care how much money you've got or how much money you don't have. It touches every single type of woman. And that's why I wanted to talk, because there's a part of my poem that says the CEO getting her, excuse my like, ish done, but at the end of the day, all she ever feels is numb. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Because that's the reality of this thing. So I had to just data wipe everybody, or not everybody. I had to data wipe those energies, peoples, and things that were not conducive of my growth. So for anybody that's listening, it's going to be challenging, but with challenge comes growth. Yeah, it was a challenging time because I had to cut from so many people and so many things. I had to come out of WhatsApp groups with family members because the energy was just not where I needed to be, because I felt like, I'm fortunate enough, actually, I'll say this, and this is not a judgment, I'm fortunate that I didn't have substance misuse issues during that time, because sometimes you could be around the people and I go, just have a look at one drink, and before you know it, you're drinking consistently to numb the pain of what you're going through. So I was fortunate enough that I went to yoga, which is where the Warrior One art piece that I have, collection that I have in my line comes from, because the yoga and the meditation really, really helped me go through that place.
Wow, that is that's fantastic, because like you quite rightly said, much of you will know, and for those listening for the first time, I've worked in the field of working with women and girls who have experienced abuse of all kinds, domestic abuse, domestic violence. Sometimes the term is used interchangeably. And there is that really important thing to know and understand. Whether you're the CEO, whether you're a judge, whether you're somebody who just does fly posting, you just might just hand out some flyers, that might be what you do. Whether you're a farmer, whether you're into construction, whether you're an artist, whatever it is that you do has nothing to do with whether you can experience just what Amja is talking about today. It is possible for everybody and for anybody. And you spoke about having this senior position, and you dressed for that position. You dressed up, and you did the heels and probably the power dressing and did all of that. And then you had your 4 womb gems that you were responsible for. You were probably just going through, but that's sometimes what women do when they're going through. They just go through. They just exist in the moment. So when they're at work, they're the person that does that role. When they're parenting, they're a parent for that time. And even sometimes parenting is challenged by the perpetrator, and so they can't always parent in the way that they would want to, or authentically. But we're talking today about for the love of me. The quote today is, "You were born to be real and not to be perfect." It is a Let's Talk show live with the Girl Blaze. It is Chalkhill Community Radio Station. Our special guest today is Amja unabashedly, and she's talking about so many things. We probably need to do a part 2. But Amja, you've really gone quite deep. You've shown your soul. You've been really open and very, very honest in a way that somebody out there will hear, listen, and know. And so that's really beautiful. So you've chosen some songs today. We've already done Work in Progress because you are a work in progress. And you've really been talking from the seat of your soul.
Definitely.
So I'm thinking that we should do this one next.
Show me your soul.
Show me your soul. Just like this.
For those of you who are watching, I'm going to take a little second to go to the loo.
Okay.
Where you come from and what you were saying. You're so much more than a star. There is power in your greatness. Oh, don't you know you are a god and a goddess, king and a queen most high. You are alive. You are the one, you've been chosen. The whole world is hoping. Now is the time. So where is your soul? Where is your soul? Show me your soul. Where is your soul? Where is your soul? Show me your soul. In my mind, you're a seed in the essence of life. Black butterfly, spread your wings, find your purpose and fly. Don't you forget, there is a reason you came here, master ordained and divine. This is your day. Make this much more than a moment. Claim it and own it. Shine, baby, shine. Hey, show it to me. Where is your I wanna see
radio station, playing for every generation.
That is a beautiful track, but I know that Amja has lots more to say, so we're going to break that one right there. That was, of course, Show Me Your Soul, Layla Hathaway and Robert Glasper. Tell me why you chose that track.
Show Me Your Soul, I think for me...
Sorry guys, I've got to put the mic on.
That's okay.
It's a Let's Talk Show. So for those of you listening on the radio, you didn't hear any of that, but I was saying it's a beautiful track. Show Me Your Soul, Layla Hathaway, Robert Glasper. Instagram listeners, I know that you had that, and I'm just asking Amja now. She can tell me why she chose that track.
Because we are souls. We have soul beings within us, and we need to be, you know, you said something about me sharing here, because I've understood the power of my vulnerability. I am most powerful when I'm vulnerable, when I'm true to myself, and that comes from soul energy, that comes from within me. And to show me your soul, when I meet people, I'm hoping that they will feel courageous enough to show me their soul, so that I can connect with them through soul. You know, we live in a world where we spend so much time on physical representation that we don't really get to know people, because we're basing it on what they look like, the latest brand that they're wearing, what car they're driving, what job position they have, but we don't really get to meet people through the power of their soul and what they really have to share and what they really have to offer us. So I chose that song, number one, because I love Layla Hathaway. Donny Hathaway is her father, the power of even that man and the energy of his DNA in her and what she bring forth, and because I love Robert Glasper. I just think he's genius in terms of the way that he can arrange music and put all different types of artists together and create magic. But there's a message in there, that the fact that you are here, the fact that, you know, I had a conversation with somebody, without being too graphic, they were talking about the process of bringing forth life. The fact that something swims out of so many and connects and makes you be who you are,
For real.
is power in that. That alone makes you powerful. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's divine. It's a divine speaking. There's divinity in the fact that you are here. Even the vagrant person that's sleeping on the road, that some of us judge and say, oh, they took drugs, that's why their life is like that. They were here for a purpose. There's divinity within who they are. So when I chose that song, Show Me Your Soul, go forth and fly. I send that children to my son. I used to use music with my children all the time in the home. I was very mindful about the music that I played around them to send them messages subliminally. So even if they didn't get it, there are times now when they're like, oh, I remember that song, Mummy, it meant, I realise now what you were doing back then. Do you understand? So music for me is power, which my mum and dad were very musically inclined. And my soul, I'm learning her. I'm learning about her on this journey of my working process. I'm learning to use my soul energy to connect with the people that resonate for me. There are people that are coming into my life now that I would never have dreamed about being. I've been in places like, you know, my afro's here, and I've got an afro pick. I got that gifted to me from Tracy Ellis Ross. Do you understand? Like, through a connection. Like, there are so many different things that happen, and the more I use my soul and my vulnerability, as I say, let art be your becoming and create the life you want. It's literally that. So that's why I chose that song, because I just think it's powerful words.
I love that. The more you use your soul, because I think Ayanna Van Zandt wrote a book, Tapping the Power Within. And when you know that, and when you understand that, and when you say that you're learning, you're getting to know your soul,
getting to know it.
That is another process. And I get it. And I'm going to remind you of a day when I had just finished a show and I was outside with my guests. And as we were outside, you were coming in. What happened in that moment was that you were walking past a group of survivors, women who had experienced just what you're talking about today, and that you both, you know, I think it was about 3 guests at the time, you walked past, didn't you? And you came in, and then we had a conversation. That's divinity. Because that does not happen, and things do not happen by chance. So you being here today, it's the right time, it's the right moment, it's the right conversation, it's the right place. You and I being in Chalkhill, even when we were in Chalkhill, we probably passed each other so many times, not knowing that at some point we were going to be in the same space at the same time, exchanging a conversation and kind of doing the same thing of giving back to the same space of which we were at that time. You speak about messages, and we've spoken about modelling and the importance really of our children, and at the beginning of the show we spoke about legacy. and how important that is. You spoke about the gift or gifts that you got from your, you know, your birth parents and also your step parents, and how they instilled belief. They believed in you. They had passion for you. And that's really important. And that brings me seamlessly kind of back to the start of the show also, where I spoke about having the partnership with Wembley Stadium. And there are 6 people in that collective, 6 organisations in the collective. And one of those, I mean, I adore all of them for different reasons. And one of them I adore for his sheer humbleness. But that, like you, he is multi-talented. But he's just so humble that he almost glides without recognising how awesome he is. And I want to send a shout out now to Julian Hall. And people kept saying to me when I was speaking, you need to meet Julian. You need to meet Julian. And I was like, oh, okay, you need to meet Julian Hall. And I was like, okay. And then one day I arrived at a meeting and I was sat next to a young man. It turned out to be Julian Hall. And he'd said, yeah, I'd heard about you as well. So that's another example. But what Julian's doing is he's doing some phenomenal work with young people. And again, here's the synchronicity. Julian is working with some young people. And some of those young people have been guests on my show in the same way that you have. Because they're young entrepreneurs. And Julian is also part of the partnership for Wembley Stadium. And he's going to be holding UK's biggest youth business fair. I cannot wait to go to this. And this is going to be on April the 30th, 2022. It's going to be from the hours of 12 until 5 p.m. I'm sure we should go down and cover.
We need to cover that. We need to cover that.
We'll be joining you, Julian. We're going to be joining you. I
definitely want to cover that.
Julian's business is called Ultra Education. It's a community interest company. And it's backed some of the biggest, youth business fairs. And I know that this fair is going to be awesome. So that's going to be taking place at Wembley Stadium. And who should attend? Any budding young entrepreneurs. Parents, bring your children, or entrepreneurs, bring your parents, whichever way round it goes. Educators, you need to be there. Youth workers, entrepreneurs themselves, and business professionals need to be there. You and I need to be there. I'm sure Flex is going to make himself available. So it's going to be an inspiring day out for the entire family, guys. So where you're going to see entrepreneurs as young as 7. I think my youngest entrepreneur I've had on the show is 6.
Wow.
And he had a series of books. I mean, how do you have a series of books and you're 6 years old? So it's going to be 7 to 18-year-olds, and they're from different aspects of the business sector. Technology, food, fashion, YouTube, books, pets, motivation, Instagram, music, and much more. So if you're interested, the young person will need to be under 21 years old. If they would like to exhibit, you need to get your parents to contact Julian and his team on 0800 211 8133. So that's 0800 211 8133. Or contact me here on the studio 07 956 548 781. So guys, it's a Let's Talk show live. It's your girl Blaze. Today's show is entitled For the Love of Me. The Let's Talk show goes live every Saturday from the hours of 11 until 1 p.m. with myself and Big E. Today's quote is, "You were born to be real and not to be perfect." Our special guest today, Amja Ambassadly. Oh my goodness, definitely born to be real, and she's been very vulnerable in this space, and she's talking about, when she's vulnerable, it's actually a space at which she's going to rise. It's like the space of the phoenix. She's going to rise, and she's been doing some rising today. You say that you're creating a life that you want for yourself, and you refer to it as a spot that changed your life. Is that the perceptions piece that you're talking about?
That's perception changed my life, because a lot of the artwork, my first series of artwork, what happened was, perception is about 6 foot. Actually, it's a massive piece, a massive canvas, and what I did was this is how it happened. So it manifested into me looking at it. It was a journey from the breakup of my marriage, being stalked and attacked, the PTSD, and it went from a journey, but it went from a kind of dark place into a light place, and it was different stages. And then I thought I could actually break this up into different collections of t-shirts, of things. So like I'm going to show here, this is the actual art piece Perception here, and it's actually a phone case. I created this myself. Everything that you see Amja unabashedly doing, Amja unabashedly does. So from the graphic designing, from the designing of my clothing wear, for the artwork that I do, the public speaking, I've got a membership called the Let Art Be Your Becoming membership. I facilitate that. I do the Zooms and all of that. But Perception was the beginning of that, because again, I repurposed. This is the thing about our creativity. We can have things and repurpose it into something else, so it transcends, so that it has a ripple effect. So this one art piece became lots of pieces. My Stand By Your Man t-shirt, which I did the Million Millions Rise March, and everybody who was walking wore the same t-shirt as me, and I stood in Trafalgar Square and performed my poem, I'm gonna help my sister rise. You know, my Warrior One, which is your hero within, is your best friend, is your hero within, and that's the Warrior One pose that you do with yoga. Because I said before, when I dismantled, I had to do yoga. That turned into a collection of t-shirts, phone cases, and all of these different things. So, you know, it's creativity, and the power that it has is, this is what I say to ourselves: our creativity is boundless. The only way we are bound is by our mindset. Our mindset is what bounds us from doing whatever it is that we feel we need to do. Do you understand? And that's how I create the life I want. I let art be my becoming. I have moments where I forget some of the things that I even talk about to people, because I'm human. Like, I have a moment and I get a little bit wobbly, and then I have to do it in a conversation, like I'm doing for my membership, Monday Mirror Moments, which is a part of my poem when I say, when you look in the mirror, I want you to see that no matter what they said, no matter what they do, you are still the beauty of your ancestors' wildest dreams. So I have mirror moments, and I've chosen Monday Mirror Moments, where I actually talk to myself, because we're taught that speaking to yourself is a sign of crazy. It isn't. Sure. It's inner dialogue is your most powerful conversation, actually. We're not social, because of the social constructs that we live in. We're not really taught about our power. We're taught about to use our kind of partial power to facilitate somebody else's thing. We're not taught about our own. So it's
interesting, because there's a program, and one of the lines in there that I heard, although it's meant to be, it's a comedy, it was so powerful. But the woman said, "Have a word with yourself."
Yeah. Talk to yourself. Talk. You know, one of my womb gems said to me the other day, she was like, you know, I'm not embarrassed to talk to myself aloud. So she'll be talking to herself aloud in the home, and I don't think that she's having a mental health crisis. It's because she's gearing herself up. Even for me, when I do something that I'm proud about, I'm like, I am me and Amja, you do that. And I talk to myself that way, and I don't feel no shame, no embarrassment about that. And I do a little happy dance, and I do whatever. When I paint an art piece and I step back and I look at it and I said, are you do that? I talk to myself that way, and I'm not embarrassed about that. I'm not ashamed about that. And I actually encourage people to be their authentic self. If that's what's going to gear you up to be able to do the greatness that you were created here to do, then do that thing in it. If it means you're talking to yourself, talk to yourself. Even where I live sometimes, when I was going through my situation, and I still do it now, you know, like when you're a little kid and you skip. I skip to the gym, to my yoga sessions, and I would skip back down the road.
What does that do for you?
It gives me energy. It makes me feel light. It reminds me of, when you look at the vulnerability of young children, the fact that you have to be held by somebody, learn to sit up, crawl, walk, then run, then ride a bike, then drive a car. That's a process of not being afraid, being courageous, not knowing what's going to happen, and going for it. We are born to do this thing. We are born to follow a process of our courage. So when I'm skipping, it reminds me of when I was a little kid, when I was just doing everything and anything. You know, even when we lived on Chalkhill, people thought I was a bit kooky and a bit different because I had locks that was sticking up in the air. I used to wear a Mac coat with trainers. I just did my own thing. I've always been this way, and I don't make an apology for that. So when I'm skipping down the road in the middle of the area that I look at, that people are looking at me, it's none of their business. I know that I'm sound within my concept of what being sound is within me.
And it is really that, isn't it? It's that, what is your perception of... Because, you know, sometimes we say, no, that person's not righted.
Yeah.
But they're okay.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've got a friend that when I ring and say, hi, how are you? He goes, I'm fine. It's everyone else. Everything's good with me. And, you know, and I get it. But one of the things that I love, actually, is that sole purpose, that searching for the hero that is within us, because we're always looking out. I'm going to say shouts out to all the Soul Purpose women tuning in, because those words just came to me. So I want to send a shout out to the Soul Purpose women, to Palmer Black, the creator, and to everyone else in that team. But it is about, sometimes, you know, we're looking for something else, we're doing another qualification, we're waiting to get some more money for something, and in doing so, you know, we can almost kind of miss the moment. We can miss the moment. And one of my favourite tunes or songs is absolutely Search for the Hero Inside Yourself by M People. Come on, Amja, let's work it out. Let's rock this one out. Ooh.